Hi, everybody, and welcome to Spiritually Speaking with Victoria Reynolds. And I'm your host, Cynthia. And today is the winter solstice. We're going to be talking about dark to light. That is what the solstice is all about, is moving from the dark to the light. And what a beautiful metaphor for us spiritually, moving from the dark to the light as we wake up more and more to our authentic self. And, uh, in ancient times, even who knows how long humans have really been on this earth, right, Victoria? I mean, really, how many times have we been at a place where maybe we wiped ourselves out and then came back and wiped ourselves and came? I mean, we have Atlantis and all of these other things going on. But what we do know is that for tens of thousands of years, humankind has been honoring the winter solstice with pyramids, with the Stonehenge, with special ceremonies. Even Christmas is on the 25th of December because of winter solstice. And you can look that up in Wikipedia. We don't know
Hmm.
when Jesus was born exactly, but they honor him on December 25th. So let's talk about the solstice, what it means spiritually, what it means in nature, and moving from the darkness to the light.
Mm. Okay. So I want to just mention really quick why the 25th. That on the Julian calendar, December 25th was the winter solstice. So when we changed from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, it changed it to the 21st. So there you go. And we don't know when Yeshua was born, as I prefer to call him.
I like
We
that.
just know it was sometime in spring when the lambs were out, and that's when life is rebirthed, is in the spring.
Exactly.
So winter solstice is and has been celebrated in a northern hemisphere for many thousands of years as the return of light. Now, obviously, if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's the opposite, but for thousands of years, this northern hemisphere culture really didn't know the southern hemisphere existed. So we in the northern hemisphere have been celebrating this time of year as the return of light.
Right.
And this is why all of our celebrations, so pick a holiday, and I always say I celebrate the holidays because every holiday this time of year celebrates the light and celebrates the return of light. And even when you go back to the origins of Christmas, it was about the celebration of the God Son, the God of the Sun. And and then Christianity turned it into a celebration of the Son of God. It's an interesting little play on words, but it's still the same thing. It is about a celebration of the return of light and of the rebirth of light. And so this celebration, this is one of my favorite days of the year. I woke up this morning, I was like, good, the days are going to start getting longer again because I love the sunlight and what it represents for myself and what it represents for humanity. And that this return of light also is something that is occurring on the planet as a whole, as more and more divine light floods the planet, is showing all the shadows that are ready to be transmuted. And so there are a lot of people who think that this is the darkest time the planet has ever seen, when really what it is that the planet is becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. And because there is so much light, divine light, gamma rays, light from the great central sun, 12th dimensional light that's now flooding the planet, that because there's so much of this divine light that's flooding planet Earth, it's showing all of the shadows that used to just be hidden in the dark. So this actually isn't the darkest time for humanity. It looks dark because there is so much light.
Exactly. The contrast is vast right now. It
Right?
is.
We can actually now see the contrast.
Right. And
Where before
yes, go
before there was so much darkness, you can't really see the dark in the dark.
ahead. No. And it doesn't take much light to distinguish or to extinguish the darkness. I mean, a little tiny little flame on a candle
And that's what's amazing. You can walk into a dark room with a birthday candle and be amazed at how much light that one little candle puts
Oh,
off.
exactly. Exactly. Right now we're at a time of transformation. There's so much information out there, as we all know. We don't know what's true. We don't know what isn't. We really don't. And, people are spewing off all of this information, and we are in the dark right now because we don't really know what's going on. And if I hear the word soon again, I'm so sensitive to that word now. I was driving down the street and it said home's coming soon because there's a new development. I said, I don't want to see that word anymore. Soon, soon, soon. uh, Soon has expired. But I was thinking, so many people, Victoria, are wondering, they're always saying, you got to get in the fight. You got to get in there. You got to care. You got to wake up. You got to. And people go, what do you want me to do? What can I do? And it came to me just a couple of days ago. I know exactly what to do. If enough of us see the world as we want it to be, peaceful, loving, sharing, non-judgmental, letting people be who they are in their cultures, and not being, like I said, judgmental, big one, letting all that go. Each human being on this planet has the right to live the life they want to live. And we have no business judging what they do. And you and I've talked about that a lot. So if you can get yourself in a place, that place of the observer, that part of you that is divine, that is trying to wake you up, that you are a divine being having the human experience, that we are so powerful. All we have to do, what happens when you take 1,000 candles and put them all together? You have this incredible, huge glow, and it's just a little candlelight, but together we can transform just with our light thoughts, which are love thoughts of harmony, of love throughout this entire planet. Just write it down every day. I live in a peaceful world of abundance for everyone having the right to live their journey that was meant for them. We're living in a very exciting time because those of us that know, or they call us awake or whatever, I'm still getting through with one eye open, but we're waking up to the fact that we are divine beings and we are powerful, and that when we unite ourselves with the divine, and that's what Joshua was trying to tell. That's the whole message of Joshua.
Yes.
So what do you think about all that? Bringing people together in the light.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting when you say about the word soon, and you go back to that, because what I've been trying to explain to people is that, well, one, divine timing, none of us know that, but the role that each of us play in divine timing. The issue is that a lot of people, as you're saying, you wake up, you take off the sleep goggles and go, wow, nothing is what I thought it was. But the issue is that so many people are so busy focusing on what they couldn't see in the darkness, that in focusing on all that darkness, they're actually propagating it. Because the way that creation works is that we create what we focus on. The universe creates what we focus on. This is how powerful the human mind is. It's one of the most powerful creations in all the universe. Right. We can create with just our thoughts. And so the issue is that so many people are so busy focusing on what they don't want, focusing on what's happening in the dark. Now that they've opened up their eyes and they're looking around and going, oh my gosh, there's enough light here that I can see what's happening in the darkness, but they're focusing on that. And as long as that's what their focus is, that is what humanity will continue to create. This is why in the mind of the universe, what the world we want to create is happening soon, right. because it has already been created in the etheric realms. We just need to draw it forward into our reality. As long as we're focusing on everything that we don't want, and we're focusing on all the darkness and all the shadows and what he and she did and said and is doing, all that, that will continue to be our reality.
Exactly.
So we need to flip the light switch, right? Stop focusing on the darkness.
This thing.
Yeah, I don't even know where mine is.
Make sure you choose programs like Victoria's or people that are talking from the light. And instead of keep throwing all of that poo, I call it poo because it's toxic. We know this stuff and they keep reposting it and look what they did and look what they did and the darkness and stuff. As long as we have those thoughts, guess what? That stays in our reality. It's going to stay in the reality. So it's important, I think, from this point on, starting today, winter solstice, as we're going into the light, to stay in the light. I'm avoiding those programs now, Victoria. I can't do it anymore.
I haven't watched them in ages.
I
Yeah,
cannot.
I might sometimes I'll just read the headline, but that's all I need. Why do I need to dive into that? My intent, and it's so funny, Cindy, when you were saying don't stop looking at the poo, I started laughing because poo is dark.
If it's healthy. Exactly.
So yeah, but it's like the train wreck, right?
It is.
People who stop and look at the train wreck, and so there's the human mind that would rather focus on the train wreck than where the train is actually going.
Right. Right.
And instead, it's like, okay, I see that this train wreck is happening over here. I'm going to go to the front of the train and see where I can help. How can I bring more light to the people that are suffering on the train? How can I help the people off the train that need help? And instead, it's just, oh, look at all this, look at all the chaos that's happening over here, and keeping our minds tapped into the chaos. And when we focus on that, that continues to be the pervasive human experience. Exactly. And so this is about all of us saying, you know what, I understand the darkness that's happening over there. I am going to be the light. That's what Yeshua meant when he said, let your light so shine for all the world to see. When he said, remove your light from under the bushel, that it is about remembering that every single one of us have this Christ light within us. We are all divine light experiencing itself through us. That's what the heart light is. That's what we talk about being lighthearted. It's about lightening up and letting go of the heaviness and the darkness. It doesn't mean that we pretend it doesn't exist, because it does, but it's about us feeding the power of our light into the darkness so the darkness dissipates. It cannot exist in our presence.
Yes, exactly. I live
and
in
enough of us need to own that. When enough of us own the truth that we are the source of light, source is always sourcing its light through us, then our light is what extinguishes the darkness. There's no such thing as a dark switch.
No, there isn't. You're right.
If we want to switch the planet out of darkness and into light, we got to turn on our own lights.
Turn on the light. And it's a personal thing. It's your responsibility. That's how you participate in the new earth and in transformation of this planet, is to turn up your own light. And it's so simple. It's just love. It's just love. It's just, what would Joshua do? What would love do right now? That's it. Put notes around it. Say, I live in a peaceful world. I live in a loving world. I live in a world that shares. I live in a world of abundance for all. I live in a world where people allow people to be who they are, and with no judgment. Just because somebody wants to do something or wants to live their life differently than you, let them do it. But that's what the ego does all the time. The ego is constantly comparing ourselves with somebody else. Well, what you're saying is, that's not what I would do. Well, fine.
Right.
That's
You know what?
fine.
It's what I'm being reminded of is judge not lest ye be judged.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and he who is without sin cast the first stone.
There you go. There you go. I mean, what a the I'll tell you, that man came up with some good one-liners, didn't he?
He is the master teacher for
Master of one-liners and communication.
and he taught through stories intentionally,
Mhm.
because when you teach through stories, it meets people where they are. So he didn't tell people what to do. He didn't tell people what to think. He taught through stories so that people could read now what we do. We could listen to that story from where they were in that particular place in their life. And what's interesting is you go back a few years later and read the story again and get a whole different meaning out of it because you are now in a different place. It's a brilliant way of teaching. It's so funny. I was saying a couple of years ago that Jesus was a master storyteller. And and I got Christian like got all over me and judged me for that. I was like, it's actually a compliment.
Jesus was a master, so,
He
you know,
was a master storyteller. He understood that human beings learn best through story. Human
exactly,
beings learn best through entertainment. So
exactly,
we need to bring better stories. We need to bring better entertainment, which is what you and I are doing here.
exactly.
Right?
Somebody,
When we give people something better,
right?
something lighter, that and they gravitate to that, that's how we change the world. We don't change the world by throwing up more darkness. We
No.
change the world by being the light and sending the light into it.
Well,
And
exactly.
so one of the other things I wanted to share really quick with people is that part of getting to that light within yourself and that divine love that's within yourself requires you doing your own shadow work. So if anything we're saying is bringing up triggers, anxiety within you,
Right.
it's because there's something inside of you that's asking for your attention that needs to be resolved within you so that you can find more light within yourself. So one of the things I started seeing when I had my midlife rebirth, as I call it, it's actually what it means to be born again. It's born again in the loving and born again in the light and having that awakening where you wake up and you're rebirthed as love. And so one of the things I was shown is that we spend the first half of our life putting on all of these layers of fear-based beliefs, and then we spend the second half peeling them all off. And when you start to peel off all those beliefs, the love and the light within us begins to expand outward. So if people are having real issues with this, it's because it's their issues, their own unresolved issues that they haven't dealt with.
Oh, absolutely. When people, they call them the trolls, when they come after people like yourself, or, they start knocking, it really says more about them than you. It really,
Absolutely. But
every time,
it never really is about them.
every time. But, getting back into the winter solstice traditions, back in, thousands of years ago, there was such an appreciation for the sun. And because they did, and the sky and nature and the harmony of nature and crops and eating, that they put, I mean, have you been to Stonehenge, or have you been to a pyramid, or even the solar markings? Or I actually put a video up about different traditions in the winter solstice.
Mm-hmm.
In Rome, they call it Saturnalia. And what's interesting about this, and Saturnalia, which they worship the god Apollo, and so they call the feast Saturnalia. And on that day, which is December 25th, is that day they set all the slaves are free for that one day. So there's no slaves. It's total equality, and everybody is partying. Everybody is loving and partying and giving gifts, eating well, drinking. That's and so the Christians adopted that for Jesus's birthday. That when they were, when the Roman Empire was doing their transition and all of that, they said, okay, all right, we'll acknowledge that day, but we're going to call it Jesus's birthday, and we have that still today. So it's fascinating when you understand the efforts. There's just go online and Google winter solstice markings. There's a huge snake mound in Ohio that is dedicated to the solstices, made by ancient man. Right? It's all there. It's all over the planet. Right now, what we've done is you go anywhere, Victoria, and this is what you see. You go to a restaurant, people aren't talking, they're going. Their whole focus is on this goofy thing right here, instead of, I'll go out and hug a tree. You and I've done that before. We'll go hug a tree, go watch the dragonflies, that dragonfly that laid on you. Go into nature with an attitude of appreciation. And in fact, right now I want to do a plug for something that is on Netflix called Moving Art. It's just this man has gone with his camera and has scanned beautiful places on the planet. And it put me personally, I use it for meditation sometimes, just to put me in a state of appreciation. The appreciation of thank you for life. Thank you for giving me this human experience. And thank you for putting me on this blue planet. They call it the blue planet because it's water. So really understanding that man appreciated this thousands of years ago. And now people are, excuse the word, bitching all the time. Bitch, 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 bitch. I've, as my son would say, I have zero energy.
Yeah.
Zero.
Well, people knew back then, and they seem to have forgotten that the sun is a source. The sun is our source of life. And that is why people worshiped it for thousands and thousands of years. They worshiped the earth as the giver, the mother and giver of all life. And they worshiped the sun as the source of life that caused everything to grow. I mean, and it's even, to me, it's hysterical. We go and we lock ourselves up in our boxes, right? The cubicles at work, our cubicles at home. Human beings have themselves locked up in their boxes and then wonder why they have a vitamin D deficiency. It's right, because the sun is, we need it in order to thrive. And that today is a celebration of that.
Yes.
And that gratitude for the sun and what it gives us as a source of light and a source of life.
That's what winter solstice is. Gratitude for that source, for the warmth, for the how it nourishes the crops. I mean, can you imagine living in ancient times and not knowing that those days are going to start, watching the days going shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, and then, oh, good, they're getting longer and longer and longer again. I mean, that could be scary when you don't know what we know now. If you're just, just shorter and shorter, and yeah.
Well, I think humanity recognized that a long time ago, and that's why they started creating celebrations around it. Once they realized, oh, this is a pattern, because the human mind, especially the masculine mind, loves patterns, loves figuring things out. Why do things work the way they do? So as the masculine mind evolved, so the feminine mind evolved before the masculine mind. First, we had the feminine wisdom, and then the masculine mind of intelligence started to evolve. And anybody who's had a baby knows this, that when a baby's born, the feminine evolves first, and then the masculine evolves. So as the masculine mind evolved to study, it's like pre-science in a sense. They started studying the patterns of the stars, the patterns of the sun and the moon, and it's like putting together a puzzle, right?
Oh.
That once humanity started to understand the puzzle of the cycles of the sun, they started creating celebrations around it because it was such an important day to celebrate.
Absolutely.
And that as the sun returns, everything that's planted in the darkness, it's like the promise of new life. And the promise of more light coming. And that's why it's celebrated, because of the promise that the light brings with it of new life,
New life.
of warmer days. And that's also why we even have New Year's right around the same time of year, because it's that same kind of celebration of the return of light.
I remember Wayne Dyer, of course, love Wayne Dyer. I remember one time he said, "What little grandma in Russia do you hate?" I remember growing up when I remember Khrushchev and the Russians and all of the stuff, and oh, the Russians, they're our enemy. Well, who declares that, right? Who declares that the Russians are our enemies? The people in power, right? So what I've been saying this to people lately, because it's true. If somebody gives you a piece of information and you say that is not true, that is absolutely not true, you might be programmed. You need to take a check and see if you are programmed, because if there's a possibility it could be true, before you make a judgment on that piece of information, make sure that you're not programmed. Because if you are having the human experience, if you're a spiritual being having the human experience, there's a thing called the ego, and there's a thing called flight fight, which is our survival. We don't want the tribe to ostracize us, because then we don't survive. I mean, they've made how much money off of a show called Survival, which I think is a horrible show. I do. I think
I used to love it.
yeah, but putting people up in front of the tribe for judgment, and then knowing that they're going to get kicked off the island. That's our flight fight response. That's so primitive. It's so primitive. Wonder if we do go into the light. Remember those shows like Little House on the Prairie? I mean, they might be a little cheesy to people, but it was all about giving love. I was on Netflix the other day trying to find a movie to watch, and there's all this satanic stuff, there's dark stuff all over the place. I was trying to, isn't there anything that's got some light in it? Wonderful Life. I think I can get that on Netflix. but
there really isn't. And this is why I was talking earlier about us telling better stories, because the human beings learn best through entertainment. So, and I've known for the last 10 years that the fastest way to change the world is through the entertainment industry, and which is why so many of us were guided to start these shows.
Exactly.
Because human beings believe what they're told.
Exactly.
Right. They're called television programs for a reason. But that's all programming. Exactly. And so this is about, when we tell a better story, humanity will start to believe that.
Exactly. And there is
telling a better story.
I know that you're in Toastmasters. I was in Toastmasters, and somebody one time in Toastmasters said, who is the best speaker? People were saying Lincoln and different presidents. I said, are you kidding? Jesus, he got up on a mount and gave a speech that they're repeating the stuff he said 2,000 years later, and he didn't even have a sound system. To me, Joshua.
Yeah. Well, and he stood up there on the top of that hill, and it actually was just a mound. Exactly. The big hillside, and it was packed like sardines. Because he was such an amazing orator.
Yes. And people listened, and then people twisted the story and turned the story, because these screens, everybody, and books that have been around for thousands of years, a lot of that is designed to program you into making you feel that you are a little turd, that was put on this planet, that you were born with horrible sin, that you're a pathetic human being, that's what we've been programmed to believe.
And he didn't teach any of that.
None of that. I think wouldn't it be cool? I've had these visions of Jesus just coming out from the sky and come down. All right, guys, we're gonna do this again. All right. And
Right.
appearing on CNN. Okay. Okay. I'm Jesus, I'm back, and let's get this straight, right? What would happen? What would happen? Right?
So what would happen is a lot of people would call it fake news because I don't think anything comes from CNN.
So he didn't come down from the sky in front of my church. If it was
Who
my
does that
church,
guy think? Yeah.
that would be okay. No, yeah, exactly. So I thought, what a great story. Jesus appears in little country church. People say, "Oh man, you are Jesus." Goes, walks across a pond, Say, "Hey, I'll show you where the good fish are." Walks across the pond, puts a fishing pole in, say, "Wow, you are Jesus. Let's tell CNN." Well, okay, I'm Jesus. Get off your doggone knees, saying, "Lord, I am not worthy," because that's not what I told you. Let's go over this again. You are divine. I am your brother. You can do these things as well. Open your heart. Love everybody. Love your enemies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that beautiful thing.
But so few people actually take the time to go and read his teachings.
Oh man, it's
without dogmatic attachments. If you go back and you read what he wrote, purely from the space of love and asking him, show me what it is you really meant when you said these words, you'll get a completely different message from him.
Oh, absolutely.
And what our religions have said, he said. So for me, religiosities are all based in hearsay. He said, she said, he said. Actually, it's he said, he said, he said, he said, because it's gone through layers of interpreters, right? But when we sit with him, and he's always available as the master teacher on planet Earth, he is available for every single one of us. Direct connection. Say, hey, dude, tell me what it is you really meant when you said this. And people will start to see something very different and experience his teachings in a completely different, so much more loving level than our religions have told us who he is and what it is that he said. And what that requires, and as you were saying earlier, if people are really programmed with something, that's what's going to create that trigger response, right? Ah, that's good, Cindy. I like that. So when people get hit with a trigger response, it's because there's a program in there that needs to be checked.
Needs to be checked.
Means that internal programming is butting up against something that's asking for you to take a look at it. And so this is when we sit. That's why it's called shadow. Doing our shadow work, doing our life processing, the navigating for the transition, whatever you want to call it. There are a dozen different names for this process of going within ourselves, looking for the fear-based beliefs, the fear-based programming, and then asking it to be the truth to be revealed and for the light to then extend itself through that. And when we start to see the light, those fear-based programs go away. It requires us, though, in earnest, to want to know what the truth is and then be willing to let go of the old belief. And that, I think, is going to be the hardest part for people, because letting go of what we've always believed is scary. And the only way to find the light and the love within ourselves is to let all that go.
Oh, you're so right. It's scary. It is very fear-based to let go of our comfort zone.
Right.
So many people feel like as long as they show up in a building every Sunday, and especially if they put money into the basket, that they're covered. Okay, I'm going to heaven. I am not going to kill anybody. I'm not going to hurt anybody. I'm not going to steal from anybody. And I'm set. And and what happens is when you get into that little box like you were talking about before, you miss out on the glory of God, the
Mhm.
real glory of God, the real glory of this creation, of this solar system and all of the galaxies beyond. It's called expansion. And that's what we're doing right now. We are going from our primordial. War is a primordial. Nobody wins except for those that are making the guns.
And it's all based in fear. It
It's
is,
all
it
based
is,
on fear.
yeah, it's all based in fear. They have what I want. So war is basically what's theirs is mine and what's mine is mine.
Exactly. Do you remember a song?
It's basically humanity at the as a 2-year-old in
Yeah,
our collective evolution.
right.
And it's time for humanity to grow up.
There was a song. You were a little bit young for it. Listen, children, to the story that was written long ago about the kingdom on the mountain and the valley folk below. On the kingdom was a treasure buried deep beneath a stone, and the valley people swore they'd have it for their very own. And so the song goes on, go ahead and hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend, do it in the name of heaven, you can justify it in the end, right? So
Mhm.
what happens is the valley people go up to the mountain and they fight the mountain people, and there's blood all over the mountain because they won the war, and they turned that stone, and the treasure under the stone, it just said peace on earth.
Hmm.
That was the treasure. There's some great songs written back then. It's called One Tin Soldier. So look
Mm.
it up, folks, if you've never heard it. Listen, children. And it's a great song that was written back then, but so insightful. We want what you have. I want what you have. I mean, where did you get those shoes? I want those. I want shoes like that. Where did you get that
Mhm.
dress? I want a dress like that. I want what you have. Can I have your recipe? And these aren't bad things. It's
No,
shared.
so that's one of the reasons that it's written into the Ten Commandments about not envying,
Yeah,
right?
but it's sharing
Because
knowledge. Oh, and actually comes as a compliment, doesn't it? You were talking about being complimented uh, this morning, where people sometimes don't even know they're giving you a compliment just by saying, okay. And how many people, man, I experience this in Nashville? I was asking everybody, all these musicians, what's the number system? Like it's some big secret. Just explain to me. Finally, somebody sat down with me, and in 5 minutes, I completely understood the music number system. I already
mm,
knew it. I just didn't know I knew it. But
right,
all the people that wouldn't share it with me because they were afraid I would have knowledge, that the knowledge they have, instead of sharing it.
right, that you
And
would steal it from them.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
right. And all that music that I wrote, I don't worry about, the time I wrote all those albums, when Napster came out and people weren't buying music anymore, they were downloading it like crazy for free. And
Hmm.
that's when all that happened. Well, I had to let that go. I had to say, listen, I wrote this music for people to enjoy. I'm not going to worry if I'm getting paid for it or not. So I put it up on mp3.com, and I had almost 5 million downloads of my music. Even now on YouTube, I'm getting thousands of hits on my Christmas music right now
Oh,
because,
that's right. I love your Christmas music. I
thank you.
forgot I actually have your CD somewhere. I'm gonna actually grab it on
Well, you
this.
can listen to the whole thing on YouTube now. It's Cynthia Productions, and it's the Christmas music. It's 2.5 hours of all of my Christmas music because I'm sharing it. We share. There's a wonderful story about the difference between heaven and hell. And so it shows hell is uh, is a big beautiful banquet, big beautiful table, impeccably decorated. The food is beautiful, displayed. It's beautiful. It's delicious. There's wine, and everybody in hell, their arms don't bend. And they're all sitting there just miserable, looking at all of this food and all of this beauty, and they can't eat it because their arms won't bend. Then it shows heaven. Same banquet, same table setting, same food, same displays. But everybody's in there having a great time, laughing, eating, drinking. Why? Their arms didn't bend either, but they were sharing with each other. Isn't that a great story? I
That
love
is a
that
great
story.
story.
They were, and we can do that here right now, especially this time of year. Share. Just think about sharing. Tonight I've invited random people to come over and do some Christmas caroling with me. Just a few people. I just moved here, and I go, hey, you want to come over and sing Christmas carols with us? So went out and did that. I'm going to share my music. We're going to have a good time with people that I've just met, right? So think about sharing right now. It's a good time to do it. And don't forget to remember that throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. So bringing that back to winter solstice, that's about the light.
It is. This was a time of peace. In the Western or in the Northern Hemisphere, it snows, it's cold, it's winter, right? It's too cold to fight. They lay down their they would lay down their swords and go to the house and sit by a nice fire, right? And mistletoe is also called the oak child. From the oak tree, it was a symbol of peace. So people would put mistletoe in their windowsill for travelers, letting them know. That's the first Airbnbs, right? Letting them know that there was that they had a room if they wanted to come in a meal. Mistletoe. If two people were fighting and they were under an oak tree and it had mistletoe growing, they'd lay down their swords till after the winter. It's a time of peace. Too cold to fight.
And you know what? And that explains why the songs every year, peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth. This is the time of peace on earth. And that again, when we find that light within ourselves, there is no desire, no want to cause harm to anybody or anything, because the love and the light within us is the driving force of our life. And when enough of us know that and really anchor that inside of ourselves, we will have peace on earth, lasting peace on earth, because of the love and the light that we found within ourselves.
Exactly. Turn up that love light, like E.T. said.
Mm-hmm. Turn on your heart light, let it shine.
Turn on the heart light. I think wasn't that a Neil Diamond?
That was a Neil Diamond song.
Turn on your heart light. Yeah. Yeah.
So and when we see that, it's in the music, it's in our stories, that the truth, that the light of God, the light of source, the light of Christ is in our heart. And we are the light of God walking through the world. And stop looking outside of ourselves for someone else to be the rescuer, for somebody else to shed their light on whatever's going on in the world, because it's us. Well, we are the light.
Yep. Thoughts speak.
We are the way.
Exactly. It's as a man thinketh, so shall he be.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a man thinketh. So watch what you're thinking, folks. Watch your thoughts. If you're having a dark thought or you just got a horrible piece of information and you're dwelling on that, say, no, just love, 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 love. I live in a state of love. I live in a place of love. I live in a world of contrast. And
right.
I recognize the contrast, but I'm going to put light on that. And one thing that I'll never forget, Stuart Wilde. He was he's a funny guy. He's passed now, but he was a great spiritual teacher. One of the things he would say is, when you see somebody who's in bad shape, what he would say is, interesting journey. Interesting journey. Because everything that happens on this planet, when you are in unison with God, which you are, whether you're aware of it or not, it's more fun if you know that you're in unison with God. But you are all, every human being is in unison with God, because each of us is a divine being having this human experience. And we all have these journeys. And Victoria, I really think that the purpose of us being here is to discover who we are.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we were born. You were born to discover who you are. This is a game. It's a big, fun movie. Life is a movie that we all play many parts. Shakespeare said that.
Mm-hmm.
We have our exits and our entrances, and one man in his time will play many parts. We all do. We're the mother, we're the sister, we're the daughter, we're the friend, we're go on and on. And the spiritual teacher. I'm the musician. And I dress the part for different things. I got out of my pajamas to come and do this with you today. Yeah, so we change our costumes, we change, we fix our hair, we do all this stuff because we're playing a part. And when you are aware of your unison with God, and you decide to go into that space more and amplify that and distinguish the darkness, that's all you have to do to change the planet. That's all you have to do. You don't have to pull out your gun or your sword or go marching with big signs or anything. All you have to do is love everyone. And as everybody knows, it's not easy to love everyone.
I think that
love your enemies. That's a tough one. But
no. Okay, so Yeshua, what he said was to love your enemies and pray for those who spitefully use you. It's understanding what love really is. It doesn't mean we have to love our enemies the way that we love our family members. It is understanding that our heart is a source of love.
Yeah.
And that as a source of love, we actually make love. We are actually creators of love. That is one way that we are made in the image and likeness of the Creator. As we send the love in our heart, we send it to all those people out there who we may consider to be enemies. We send them love that their hearts will be healed. We send them light that they will see through the darkness. Right. That's how we love our enemies and pray for them. Exactly. We want their hearts to be healed. Right. We pray that their suffering will come to an end, because people who are hurting hurt other people. When everyone is living their life from the vibration of divine love and divine light, there is no harm. There is no suffering.
No, exactly. Because we're all helping each other. We're sharing. We're loving. So right. I want you right now to tell everybody about your new show, The Higher Review. Okay.
Oh, I have a couple of new shows actually that I'm working on. I haven't quite decided yet where they will be. So okay. I have a show on Sunday mornings called Spirit Lift Sunday. That's every morning at 8 o'clock.
Every Sunday morning.
8 a.m. Every Sunday at 8 a.m. on Infinite TV.
And Pacific time.
That's Pacific, sorry.
Okay,
yes.
So that would be
8 a.m. Pacific every Sunday morning.
Okay.
And it's on Infinite TV. Infinite is spelled INFYNIT.
Okay.
And I'll give you the link for that.
Okay.
I have another show. Then there's my regular stuff that I do on Fearless and Free TV, where I bring in channel messages and my spiritual teaching and conversations with other people. I think I'm going to be changing that to Visits with Victoria, so it has its own show.
That Visits with Victoria.
Yeah, so it's me when it's like the conversation you and I are having, just having these wonderful conversations about spirit.
I like that.
And then I have another show I'm working on that's called The Illuminators.
Mhm.
And I've only done one episode so far, but it is going to be me and a male counterpart.
Okay.
And my vision for this is for it to be kind of a loving response to a show like Regis and Kathy Lee Kelly kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Where it's me and a man talking about current events and bringing more light into it. So
Okay.
what we need to do is make our shows more entertaining.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so this is about a different kind of entertainment. And then I have another show that's starting up next month called The Higher View. And I've had this vision for years and it's finally coming together. And it is a higher response to The View. So there are 5 co-hosts.
I love it.
And we will be talking about current events, but we're going to be talking about current events from a higher, more loving spiritual perspective.
I love it.
And these women are funny. You're going to see some back and forth banter, but really bringing more light into it and more lightheartedness into it. So that's why it's called The Higher View, because it's current events from a higher perspective.
Okay.
And I don't know, there are a lot of people doing this yet, but I've been shown for years that human beings learn best through entertainment. So we need to be more entertaining.
Absolutely. So you can be found at victoriareynolds.com, everybody.
Yes.
You can find all of her stuff there. Victoria, I love you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too.
Happy solstice to everybody. Happy Yule if you're that. Happy Saturnalia if you're that. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
There's all kinds of celebration, and it's all about the light. So I'm so grateful for our friendship, and I'm grateful for your presence here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love you. Love you.
I love you too.